All right, Dos, this interview is going to be like none we've had before. I've got a funny feeling about that. But Trav Grech, welcome to the dos&d show.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Feeling good back from Japan?
Yeah, feeling refreshed, feeling good. My tan is lingering away from post-Europe, but...
Not from where we're sitting, mate. It's glowing nice.
Yeah, it's the lighting and makeup. But feeling good, feeling refreshed. Ready for a big summer, I think. I think just getting the buzz from last week with the grand final. I think the streets were mayhem, and I think hospitality is ready for a big year, big summer, especially post-COVID. I think, a lot of people are excited and ready to double down and go hard, and that's what we're going to do.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we're going to dive into all of that over the next hour or so. And, of course, the listeners would have heard a little bit about your background. But to kick us off, tell us currently the places that you actually own or co-own or founder in, or where you... Basically, what slices of the pie you've currently got?
Which ones he's not? Because basically he's doing everything.
He's everywhere in Melbourne.
Yeah, so obviously there's a few partners with everything that we kind of do, and obviously, there's a big group and what we kind of do. But I guess if you want to look at what comes under the banner and whether it's ownership or partnership or, we're all working together, there's obviously the Emerson, which is obviously pumping and flying at the moment. There's Electric. We've just taken over Riva, which is now called Riviera Beach Club in St Kilda. From that as well, we've got the Rossi Bar, which is the restaurant in Chapel Street. We've got the Northcote Theatre in Northcote, obviously.
It's a good spot.
Yeah, primarily used for bands, 1,500 capacity, awesome venue. And then obviously we've got like some summer events coming up at Cryle Castle down in Ballarat, which is going to be our like makeshift kind of like different area of like, Halloween parties, Christmas, we're doing Oktoberfest.
Nice.
It's purely a castle, so managing that. And then, so there's a few things in the pipeline on some other venues and ventures, but I guess they're the kind of main ones where I guess you'll see me out at the moment on Saturday and Friday nights.
Keen to hear, and I know you mentioned a little bit just off air then, but I mean, the backstory of all this to getting to where you are, it all starts with you being a person that enjoyed going out. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I just loved going out, loved the music. I never knew there was a whole behind the scenes stuff of what goes on to make an event work or a regular Saturday night nightclub. I thought it was open the doors, put a DJ on, and people just went out.
Yeah.
But I guess nowadays, with marketing and this and that and what goes on to kind of put a show on and, even just the staff, the morale and keeping managers and bartenders up and, bussies, it's just like, trying to find the right team to kind of make the whole 360 dynamic work. But, I guess for me, it was just going out to Chasers and was there every Saturday night. It was my first nightclub and fell friends with the owner, Martha, who everybody thought was my mum. Everyone still calls her, my mum. And leading in, every Saturday nights that people got knocked back, people were calling me up saying, your mum's not letting me in, I'm like, what are you talking about? But she kind of gave me my little foot in the door. And, we're still best of friends now. And, it was just there was no MySpace, there was no social media. It was literally write your name on a card, hand it out to people. And just get my guest list going from there and use Trav's guest list. And, it was just it was awesome because I had that opportunity to go to the front door, let people in from the front rope and felt, there was a line down the street.
Felt like the king.
Yeah.
That definitely would have worked, I think. Yeah.
So I had my little black book and my old 32 Nokia 3210 and it was just, it was go time from there.
It's amazing.
So we mentioned to you off air that a former guest of the show actually passed on your contact details, Zed and the Sheet. So we better give him a quick shout out early on. So he talked to us a little bit about when he first came to Australia. He was outside these nightclubs actually selling hot dogs. That's his story. So he was hustling, but so were you. Talk to us about your hustle in those days.
Yeah, I mean, it was a different kind of hustle. I mean, every week I was basically handing out my name on cars, in the surrounding areas, putting flyers on windscreens, calling people and getting people's names and coming to the club on a Saturday because I really didn't have any income or money to
So sorry, what was in it for you then? Do you get paid
$2 a person?
Right. Okay.
So $1 to $2 a person. Now, obviously, it's a lot different with people wanting retainers and host deals and all that. But it was literally here's some drink cards and get paid $2 a person. And if I bring in 100 people, it was $200, and if I bring in 20 people, it was whatever it was. And then basically it was cash money, and then that kind of got over for 200 became 400, and 400 became 500, and little bonuses here and there. And I actually had to bring my parents in because they thought I was a drug dealer because they didn't know how old school wogs, how are you making this kind of cash money from one night? So I had to bring my mum and dad in to meet Martha and hey, this is what goes on, this is what Trav does. And
legit.
This is how he's making kind of, $400 or $500 a night. And, but being with old school WOG parents, they're like, what's going on here? Like, you're going out all hours of the night and coming home. And I'm like, this is it. This is, and then kind of found my path kind of through that and kind of learned, there's a way to kind of make money. And then I did a dual diploma in event and venue management through a TAFE course. And I did like a music business degree as well, just to see what I can kind of dabble into as well. But I think with this kind of industry, it's really like hands-on and like learning from experience.
So do you reckon from afar, a lot of people do look at someone like yourself who he just walks in and he just gets to host and looking after people, it's easy, but clearly it's not. Can you maybe give us a bit of detail around, the extremities of what actually goes on to look after guests and get people there?
Yeah, I mean, like we look after a lot of high-end guests, whether it's artists, celebrities, high-end clients with wealth income or someone that wants to kind of come through. So like, it's a 7 days a week job. Like, it's not 9 to 5. My phone rings at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, especially when we've got major events or shows or people need tickets or whatever it is. And you just got to be on. You're competing against other people as well. So if you miss that phone call or you miss that email from an agent or whatever it is, you're missing, that opportunity, or they'll just go somewhere else. Especially with these guys that want everything now on the higher end VIP clients kind of stuff. They just want, I want the table, I want this. Like, you got to be on and got to make it happen. Yeah. So, we have a full team that looks after things, 7 days a week, yeah.
So typically if somebody's coming out, you mentioned off air, I think you mentioned Drake, Miley Cyrus, these kind of real big operators. How does this process work? Do they say, hey, we're coming to Australia, we're going to be in Melbourne, we're looking for, like, do their people say we need a place to go post-concert or post-this? And then what you get, if they're ringing you, you get first bite of the cherry, and you have to explain what you can give them that other clubs won't?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like the Drake one was through Joni and Elusive when we did it when I was based in Sydney and when I was doing Marquee. But that was like a really long negotiation. Obviously, he has a relationship with the US clubs and all that, but it was like a really long negotiation. And then it's like, all right, it's all about the money to start off with, just to get them to do a hosted appearance. And then it's like, all right, cool. Well, after they agree, it's like security walkthroughs. Where is he going to sit? Where's he going to walk through? Where's his staff? Who's doing the drinks? Like, these guys are just high end. Only a certain amount of people can be in a back room. Who's making the drinks? Like photography, video, entrances, back doors, name it. Same as Miley, when she came through, she was like awesome, like took her to dinner in the casino. But it's like these guys live a crazy life. Like, when I say like, I've never experienced like paparazzi, like it's just nuts. Like you're walking through paparazzi everywhere. I'm like, I don't know how these people wake up and do their life. Yeah. It's people think it's glamorous, but when you've got photography, video, people screaming at you and you're just walking through, I'm like, imagine this 365 days a year, 7 days a week. It's just crazy. But doing someone like Drake, that was cool as Miley Cyrus, we did Kevin Hart, but they've all got their own ways on doing things with their team, procedures in place. And it's like, well, if you want to do it, it's got to be done this way.
Sure.
So it seems like there's so many facets to what you do, because you obviously got, like you just detailing there, it's a real promotional aspect of your job. You know how to promote big names, get them involved to promoting a certain brand or place. But then you're also an owner and founder of, well, let's say just Ultra Festival. Then you're an co-owner of pubs. Like there's so many different parts of what you do. So how do you actually juggle it all? And I know it might sound like a really silly question, but like going from role to role and knowing what you have to do here and there. Like, it just seems like your phone must just never stop. And I know you mentioned that, but like, how do you balance it all?
Yeah, I think it's just, I do work a lot. Obviously,
your poor wife.
Yeah, she gets involved though. I get her involved though. But like obviously something like Ultra, it's really like a 6-month campaign. Like we're getting ready to launch in a couple of weeks' time for April next year. So it's like a 6-month campaign, but give you guys an exclusive. We are going to expand out to another state next year. So obviously we've done Melbourne the last year. This year we did 20,000 tickets, and we are venturing off to another state, which is exciting for us.
Congrats, that's massive.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, so no one's heard about it yet.
Yes. So we're very excited.
Yeah, but we're going to be launching that in a couple of weeks' time. But it's all systems go on that kind of stuff. We've got a good team that handles everything in place. When I say like working with Ultra, it's like working with McDonald's. Like it's a franchise, but there's a certain person within every department that we kind of work for. We oversee all the channels, all the artist negotiations, and then we kind of palm on to the production team, to the marketing team, and everything and so forth. So, yeah, it's exciting. And Ultra's like, I guess, my baby. I guess like that's the one thing I get most excited about on seeing that. It's the biggest production. It's the biggest detail. We do table service, which is not existent at a music festival. Like
wow, yeah.
$20,000, $30,000 tables.
How does that work?
we just make it work. We just
What an answer.
we set it up. We've got a back end system.
Wow.
We work with a great team who just facilitates table service at a music festival. It's not just standing. It's not just a VIP ticket. We're selling tables 30, 40. I think 3 years ago, we had a couple of people buying at 50 grand a table.
Wow.
It was just this one guy, 2 dudes, bunch of girls, helicopter in. We had to stop filming because of the drones and all that when the helicopter was landing at Flemington. And but that's the kind of wealth and kind of experience that we want to try and target as well. We want to try and separate ourselves just from a different music experience, not just, DJs and shows or whatever it is, but we really want to try and give an element. And I think that's where Ultra kind of works really well. It's all about from when you're walking in, it's the banner, it's the signs, the dancers, the entertainment, the production, and the feel that, we'd love to give. And that's what we try to do at even our regular club nights. Like you look at Electric, it's the swinging of the lamps, it's the shades, it's the music, it's the atmosphere, it's the flare tenders, it's the host, it's the way the bartenders kind of, carry themselves as well. It's all those 1%ers kind of makes us a little bit different from everybody else. And I guess this is the attention to detail that we kind of look at and go, all right, well, what worked, what didn't work? And we kind of look at the Europeans, like they do it so well. Like in Europe, I was just photos, videos. I'm like, that's awesome. Like, fuck, we should do that.
Yeah.
We should do that. That is like incredible. Like, why can't we do that? But obviously there's a lot of rules and regulations that go on here than it is in Europe. But I guess like scoping out what other people do and trying to bring it back home is kind of what, makes me kind of go, all right, well, how do we move forward? Trying to get the one step ahead before anybody else as well.
How do you balance it? Because you when talking to you and hearing you flesh it out more, it's really interesting because my head's just spinning on all the different facets of the business and everything you must be doing. Obviously, you're an incredible businessman, but you probably also have to be the party boy too sometimes when you're at the club. How do you balance the two between obviously clients, but people that are going out or doing whatever?
Yeah, look, I'm out every single weekend. Obviously the wife isn't, but she's there as well. But like for me, it's tapping into the new market that's coming through. Like these 18, 19, 20-year-olds are going to be the ones that are dictating the new music or who's hot, who's not, and what's going on. So us finding out, all right, well, where's the threshold on like what's going on is so important. Like to keep in touch is number one key. Like you're finding, obviously now with TikTok and other ways of marketing, and it's a new era. It's even sometimes over my head. That's why we employ like guys and people and girls going, right, well, what's the new facet and how we market and how we sell tickets? And it's a different from 5 years to 10 years on how I was doing it to what it is going to be now to the next 6 to 12 months in the future. But I mean, for me, like I love the music. I love going out. Obviously there's the work to it as well. Like obviously if the bar's not right, if the door's not right, I mean, I'm probably like, not a Nazi, but like going through of like seeing like if that light isn't working properly or the sound isn't right or this isn't right or if this person's not serving quick enough, like it's those 1%ers that I'm like, fuck, we got to get on it because the hospitality experience is an experience. And that's what sometimes I think everybody kind of forgets as well. Like when you go to a restaurant, you want a nice meal, you want this, you're paying for an experience as well, like for what the food is. So when you're coming to a venue or one of our events or whatever it is, if you're not getting a good experience, like these days with social media and people bad-mouthing it out, like you see it. So I'm all for that. If the door person isn't right, well, go home.
Yeah.
If you're having a bad day because you had something going wrong at you're at home and you're coming moody, well, it's going to set the tone before people walk through. So all these little things, and like, we just we do the rounds every weekend. We go from Electric to Emerson to Circus or Riviera.
Oh, really?
Whatever it is. Yeah, we just go around every night, just move around. All the boys, all the owners, and everyone just kind of moves around in different areas.
And do you have to chat to certain like people that are spending a lot of money or?
Yeah, I love looking after our VIP clients and making sure, like, especially if there's someone that's coming through spending, whatever it is, it could be $500.
Yeah.
To me, if somebody spends $500, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, definitely.
Like it's, we've never grown up with money, so these people spending $500 to $10,000, it's the same experience we want to give them because they might be coming up for the first time, being an 18-year-old kid with their booth and spending $500, but that's all they can afford. We want to give them the same love and experience as someone who's spending $10,000. So obviously we've got our clients and people walking through that have certain bartenders or certain drinks, or they like their drinks poured a certain way and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know, it comes hand in hand, and you get to meet a lot of great people too.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course.
These guys that are spending great money obviously have great businesses and, great wealth and, great mentors and people that I learn and go, I'd love to, strive to that as well, So yeah, it's definitely opened up the books to a lot of things.
So you get all these people through the door as an 18-year-old. Is it chaser? Is that what it was?
Chasers, yeah.
Chasers. So you're doing that. Your mum and dad approve. You know, they go, yep. You know, we know exactly what he's doing, and Trav's, you know, he's been a good boy.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, the passion and the understanding of how everything runs through events and the nightlife of hospitality, you obviously go, all right, I'm going to go and I want to make this my career.
Yeah.
So then, what was the next step after that? You went and did a course. You said it in
Yeah,
event management.
I was doing a little bit of event management course, and it was just. The school actually loved me because I was actually like exceeding like all their expectations and running all these events and clubs, and I was actually teaching them one or two things. And funny enough, the lady who taught me, Abby G, is now working for me. So like it's funny how like the times have kind of like turned. You know, she's our safety and event officer.
Crazy.
And, you know, so but yeah, just doing all that and just kind of fell in, started club hopping and did a few things at different events and kind of started running my own events and go, all right, having a couple of little wins and we go, oh, you know, made a little bit more money and kind of did that. And then obviously take a little bit of a loss on one or two things because they just didn't sell or whatever. So I was just kind of learning, all right, this is kind of a cutthroat kind of industry on, you know, do I want to pursue this? And then, started running some more events. And then the opportunity came to take over Marquee in Sydney and do the artist and programming over there. So I took the plunge and literally applied for the job through Timmy Trumpet, who recommended me. And then literally got a phone call saying, hey, you got the job and hey, can you come next week? And I'm like, I don't have a place to live. And I literally lived in the casino for a month.
Really?
So yeah, they just put me up, lived me in the casino for a month.
Because you wouldn't want to leave.
Nah, I had room service. I had a maid clean my place, obviously. But
yeah, guys still haven't found a place.
Yeah.
It's been 12 months.
struggling. But that was awesome. I've never worked at a venue or nightclub that is so on point. Like the staff, the credibility, the way the presentations are done, the artists that were coming through, the celebrities and whatever it might be, that place was the best 4.5 years of my life. But it was hard to live away, you know, like it was, you know, you don't really have much friends over there. I was new to Sydney, had a couple of close friends, but, you know, during the week, not everybody goes out. So you're at home by yourself, you're working. But while still in Sydney, I still had all my Melbourne stuff going on. So I was still running venues, still running clubs. I was still doing the weekly kind of stuff with my partners. So I guess the train kind of kept going and I was flying back kind of every second weekend, kind of Sunday, and then flying back Monday to just kind of keep making sure that it kind of, and that was like every second weekend.
Keeping things afloat.
Yeah. Literally as the club finished on a Saturday or Sunday morning at 6 o'clock, I was on the first flight out. Became friends with like the Virgin staff because they're like, you just finished from the club? Yeah. I was just like, I just finished, got to go home. And then 6 a.m. on a Monday morning, straight back so I can get back to the office and be in time. And that was for like 4 years, like on and off. But I just knew that the time in Sydney was always going to come to an end. I couldn't leave what was going on in Melbourne because I built that up.
Sure. And
if I just forgot about it, well, no one will really remember Trav from Melbourne. So, that was like a good 4 years. My network, everything just went from here to here when I took that job. And agents, artists, you know, tour managers, that black book just became, you know, because I was looking after them all. So when they come to Sydney, whether it was their dinners or this or that, or they wanted a boat or whatever it might be, that was just go see Trav. So, it was a lot of fun.
So then when do you take the plunge in your first actual investment and buying into, and which venue was it, and when? Yeah,
so when I came back after that, my partner Ash, who was already a owner of Billboard in the city, which has been around, you know, forever and a day, and it's a solid venue and it's an amazing live music venue as well. There was an opportunity to buy in on that, and I bought, you know, just 10%. But it was a good kind of learning curve of, hey, cool, well, you know, you bought in, but like, you know, got to bring that bank account up to a certain. It wasn't just, you know, money going out every week in our back pockets or anything. Like the fridge might break one week, or the gas pipe might break, or the screens aren't working, or we're investing. It's just owning a nightclub isn't as glamorous as I think what people kind of feel when constantly things are going, you know, breaking and stuff like that. But it was a good learning curve. It was a really good experience. And
what does, when you say 10%? If you own 10% in a nightclub, especially like Billboard, what does that? What is your responsibilities then? Like, if you come to, like, what do you, I don't even know how to frame this question, when you're having discussions or meetings during the week about things, like you mentioned things going wrong, but where like, what's your say? How much influence do you have?
Yeah, I think it was like everyone had their input. Like, it didn't matter if there was 5%, 10%, 20%. I mean, when we had our management meetings, everybody sat around the table and what worked and what didn't work. Like
from the previous weekend?
Yeah, from the previous. So it didn't matter like on ownership on what level, or if somebody owned 90% or whatever it is. Even when we do our shows and other partnerships and whatever, we all sit around a round table. It doesn't matter. Everyone's input is just as important as the guy who owns majority. That doesn't matter. Like we're all equal. Otherwise, none of us would be sitting on this table. So, at the start, I just kind of like had to find my feet a little bit, like, just that new, even though we all knew each other and we're all friends and we did shows together, it was just like, all right, well, this is what I think might happen, or my experience from other things, or, hey, we did this at Marquee, or we did this at another club. And I guess, input's input, and, I'd rather have a say than kind of not. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, well, hey, you try it, eh?
Yeah. And I'm sure there would have been some butting your heads at times.
Oh, yeah, we always like everything we do, we butt heads. Like,
Yeah.
No one ever sees equal on everything. We've all got the exact same goal to doing a great event, sell tickets or whatever it might be. But, at the end of the day, between how many people are in a room, someone's got to have an argument or a say on something or agreement on this or whatever it might be. So compromise, I guess, is the key. But at the end of the day, we all walk out and give each other a hug. And,
Yeah. Well, it's ultimately because you all care, and you, like what you said, you want this place to be the best it can.
Yeah, and that's
and
it.
Skin
Like,
in the game.
Yeah, we're all family people. Everyone I work with has a family. It's just we put our houses on the line. It's a hard slog. 1 minute you could be the hot spot. Next thing you know, you could come down or whatever it might be. And hospitality isn't easy. You spend a lot of money and you hopefully try and get that reward. But we've all got that end goal to kind of like make something out of it.
We grew up in Mornington, in the peninsula. And in Mornington, when we were growing up, there was two main nightclubs. Now it's a bit different, but there was the Bay, which is now changed its name. I can't remember what it's called now.
Same.
But there's a Bay Hotel, and then there was Cruise.
Yeah, that was my favourite.
And the thing was, in the 5 or 6 years that we lived down there growing up, there seemed to always be a shift. So for like a year and a half, one of those nightclubs would just be popping. Everyone would go there, and the other one would be dead.
Yeah.
And then it would kind of flip for a while, and then it would flip back, and it kept like doing what, in your eyes, what makes that kind of happen? Like you mentioned at the moment, Emerson is absolutely pumping.
Yeah.
It's what everyone's talking about. Why is that the case, and why might be some other venues not doing so well at the moment and eventually will flip?
Yeah, look, I think with Emerson, when we came in, I think we bought that during COVID, the team that kind of came through. But I think there was always an end goal on having the right team with the right venue. And obviously Chapel Street right now, it's probably what it was like 10 years ago, where it seems to be like the hotspot a little bit. There's a lot of people going out there and kind of, so this venue was like ready to kind of go. It just needed the right love. Emerson's always been around and it's done amazing, for what it has been and stuff like that. And obviously it had a bit of a dive. Like, there was no regular Saturday night. Functions were absolutely killing it because it had the rooftop, but club was non-existent. So I guess we kind of came through with the right mindset, with the right team. We spent $2 million on a renovation on it. And I guess from our side, we're constantly just, still renovating. We don't have it to where we want it at the moment, but I guess the team had that vision on where to kind of make it. And, to credit to the teams right now, it seems to be the hotspot, from the right influences, the right teams, the right DJs, the right music, atmosphere, bartenders, booth service now. All those little 1%ers which we kind of talk about is kind of where, what's making it.
I unfortunately, I've never experienced booth service, right?
No,
Neither.
You guys have to do a Saturday night with me and I'll take you around.
Yeah, we will take you up on that.
We'll get Zed. I know he doesn't party, but we'll get him
Sorry.
back. But what, and I know there's probably a few people listening, what does it entail? And I know it probably depends on how much you spend and what have you, but yeah, what would a typical booth or bottle service, whatever you want to call it, you picture movies in Vegas. That's what I'm picturing.
Yeah.
What is it? What is it?
I mean, look, it's a normal booth service is basically like a sectioned off area with couches or seating area. It comes with your pre-packaged alcohol, whether it's vodka, champagne, whatever it might be. And it gives you entry, obviously, as well. And obviously, whether it's sometimes some venues have food, whether it's a fruit or whatever it might be. But it kind of gives you that element of like, okay, this is my space. Like I can sit down. I'm in a prime position, whether I'm overlooking the DJ, I'm in a prime area. But I guess I've also got a waitress as well pouring my champagne or my drink and having that extra service of what kind of makes it. So instead of, I guess, just going as a normal general punter, lining up to get a drink at the bar, whatever it is, you're walking through, you're ushered through, you might come out, the girls might have, if it's your birthday, you come out with your board, your presentation. It's all about the Instagram, isn't it, these days now, and TikTok. So all that of like making stuff go viral is like, I was at Marquee, I've dressed up in panda outfits and other bits of monkey suits. Like it's all systems go. Like someone's just ordered 20 bottles of Dom and they want someone in a monkey outfit. Cool, you're on the chats. Who's free? All right, I'll go. Let's go.
Trav, here's the monkey suit.
Like CO2's coming out. Like it is what it is. But I guess these are what makes that Vegas element, and we try to like kind of bring it back here. But yeah, I always say if you want an experience with a group of friends that want to make it, by the time you walk in, pay entry, and buy X amount of dollars in the bar, you better off buying a booth.
Yeah.
Like it just makes sense between 10 or 12 of your mates or 15 of your mates. By the time, if someone tries to pick up a girl or you got a couple of your mates or you want to invite some girls to your
certainly
booth.
helps.
Like it does help, the ratio of hooking up is a lot better than it is. So, but yeah, like when you do the maths on it, that's why I try and educate like people like, I've got a group of 10, can I do a guest list? I'm like, I always try and sell them a booth, not because we want to try and make the money out of it, but it's more so, hey, you're going to get a better experience. And by the time, you come to the front door and you're waiting in line or whatever it is to get in, it just makes more sense.
What, in your opinion, would be the outside of Melbourne, the best party city in the world that you've experienced, and why?
Party experience. I mean, Vegas is on kind of another level, but I went to Europe this year, and Europe, I think everybody was there in Europe this year.
Yeah,
it was like literally
except
Australia.
us.
Yeah, but yeah, it was Europe. The Europeans just do things different. The culture, obviously, the rules and regulations are a lot different, but they just do things different. Obviously, there's so much table service and things like that. But they're going out at 10 o'clock at night, and 11 o'clock at night, or they're eating dinner, late night curbside dinners, restaurants, and whereas here you go out in the city and nothing's open.
Yeah,
like it's crazy. Like think of 24-hour flight or whatever, and you're in another country, how they do things completely different. And everybody that comes over says, or when they go to a festival overseas, why can't you do it like that? I'm like, well, A, our cost of labor is 10 times more expensive, but B, like our rules and regulations, like, or no one wants to go out. We don't have the population. Like, trust me, we'd love to be open 7 nights a week and have our venues pumping. Like, it makes more sense. So, yeah, but Japan was crazy as well. Japan's nightlife and like the Japanese, like they party hard. They love their shots, they love their bottles. But yeah, just the energy on those guys. Because I think there's a little bit of what I've found out in Japan is there's a language barrier. That's why I don't like hip hop so much. But they love electronic music because they can relate to the beats and kind of everything that goes by. So Skrillex just played, Ultra Japan when he came on. I've never seen anything like it. Like it was just, this crowd was just electric. And I was like, this gives me motivation to come back and do things in Melbourne and like, let's go.
Wow. Yeah. Imagine the names in his phone.
I know. I think of going out and we had someone actually on the show probably a couple months ago now. And there's always, unfortunately, sometimes it's usually at the front of nightclubs that there's something, I don't know what it is, but I'd love to know your opinion on basically the king hit culture.
Yeah.
Because we had someone on about, nearly 2 months ago, Blake, great bloke, but he was based up in Queensland and he explained he got king hit and he was out the front of a nightclub or a pub up there and he shared his story and it made me just think about, obviously, it makes you sometimes second guess going out.
Yeah,
and I know it obviously it does for a lot of people because you want to obviously be safe and whatnot. But as a club promoter and an owner, how do you go about situations like that when in instances there could be violence out the front of nightclubs, within nightclubs, there's alcohol, drugs sometimes involved? Like, how do you go about those instances being the top of the chain and having to control it?
Yeah, I mean, safety for us, whether it's our music festivals or clubs, is number one. We spend so much money, especially our music festivals. We always meet with police, ambulance, St. John's, whatever it might be, the venue to go, all right, well, what measures do we need to put in place for people? People are going to take drugs. It is what it is. But in regards to, like, I guess the king hitting, I mean, the culture, it's kind of changed a little bit, obviously, in Melbourne, but there's always going to be one dickhead.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, our door staff, it's not easy being a security guard at a front door. You stand there one night, whether you're a door girl or this or someone, the amount of abuse that they cop or people walking past or because you're knocking back people for whatever reason because they're intoxicated, like, you just got to be cool, like, calm. But there comes to a point where, they do need to be physical to move people along for the safety of the rest of the patrons that are in line.
And their safety. Like, I don't want to be standing out there going, well, knocking back a guy who's drunk, who's 6 foot tall, who's got 10 of his mates because we don't want to let 10 blokes in and then all of a sudden it's going to be on. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think there needs to be stricter rules in place from the top, for that to kind of channel down, because at the end of the day, we can only do so much. We move people along off the street. We stay there. If people are intoxicated, we give them bottles of water. We make sure people get in Ubers correctly. Like, so our team is always on point to try and do whatever they can to kind of make sure, like, people have too many drinks on the way out. Where's your Uber? Cool, just wait here for 2 minutes. Get them in the car. I've seen countless times where our security guards have walked girls into an Uber just to make sure, or walk them across the road to make sure they get into a car properly. But that's
service on us. But it's also like, I guess, them being homebodies and just being gentlemen as well, and going, cool, well, we deal with a lot of shit, but at the end of the day, we just want people to go home and be safe.
Yeah.
We want to come back tomorrow, do this all again. We don't want someone to be hurt, injured. I don't want to have a death on my conscience.
Yeah.
Whether it's a festival or a show. I mean, I've seen some bad stuff in the medic area where people, have taken too much and shit's going on and life support's in action, and it's something that you don't want to kind of see. But unfortunately, it goes with the culture of nightlife. People are either going to take too much drugs or they've never taken something before, and weather plays a huge part in music festivals. So it's just like there's all these kind of measures that we try and put in place. But unfortunately, if something's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Yeah,
but
it's inevitable.
It's terrible.
Isn't it?
I mean, we definitely hate it. We don't want anything at our venues, or I don't even want it at anybody else's venues, because it has a flow-on effect on all of us. Because if something's in place or whatever it is, it just kind of has that flow-on effect, which means more measures, more costs, more this, more that, and then I guess we get scrutinised as well.
Yeah.
As well, we try to do the right thing. We always have more security than we need to have more security on the door. So, or inside the venue, just to make sure that everybody is safe. So, yeah, it's always a topic. We debrief at the end of the night. We debrief during the week with our security guards, what worked, what didn't work. We've got security cameras left, right, and centre as well. So
on that too, though, it's unfortunate because it's not like it happens every night and it's always there. But the media love the negative stuff, so they're gonna grab a headline from the bad thing that happened.
Oh yeah, of course. And look, unless you're the Grand Prix, the VRC Melbourne Cup, or anything like that, in a lot of other aspects, they're not writing positive about a nightclub unless it's a launch that someone's doing it at an influencer or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Look at Collingwood. They went to Emerson and they went to Osborne on the weekend, and it was party time and it was all great and it was all in the papers. But if there's something negative, they'll write it out. They're always trying to catch a story, and then I think that's what's a sad thing. I mean, at the end of the day, we're just hospitality. We're just people having an escape for people to come out to a bar, to a club, to meet a girl, to meet a guy, whatever it might be, just to have some fun. Yeah, cool. People might drink too much, whatever it is. But yeah, the media just, if it's something, then... But then there's also a lot of positives that the media write too. I mean, they've written a lot of great stories about us and what we've done. And we invite them down to our launches. And, when we took over Riva, and whether it's even Ultra as well, they're writing about it. So I guess it goes hand in hand. But when shit goes bad, yeah, it's just like shit goes bad. Yeah.
We took the show over to the UK nearly 2 years ago. We worked out this morning, which is a bit scary, but
it's actually quite sad.
We're over there for the launch at the start of 2022. Was it 2022? Yeah. And our friends in London decided to take us out to this nightclub in London, and off we went. And we straight away we went in there. We're like, oh, we don't really love it.
Was this the New Year's?
New Year's, yeah. And we saw this guy, and he was a big bloke as well, absolute fuckwit, 6'5", something like muscly as, and he's clearly going around to trying to intimidate girls and get them to take stuff. And then we saw this girl totally pass out on this chair to the point where she just flopped,
paralyzed.
And then suddenly out of nowhere, 4 guys run in, as in security, and they've picked her up and they've taken her to some back secret room to obviously deal with it. How do you deal when something like that that's totally out of your control happens? Obviously, you've still got. I mean, this happened midnight. They're going to be going till 5 a.m. They don't want it to ruin other people's night. How do you deal with situations like that when somebody just either gets sick or
gets too loose? Yeah. I mean, look, we have procedures in place. Whether it's let's take them to the office, let's take them back door, let's get them some air, whatever it might be. If they're drug affected, do we need to call an ambulance? They're the top kind of things. Obviously, majority of our staff and managers and all that kind of stuff are all first aid trained and all that kind of stuff. So we've got things in place that, okay, well, if a decision needs to be made from the venue manager, the head of security, or whatever it is. But if somebody's passed out in a couch or whatever it is, we do, guy or girl, we kind of pick them up. Hey, guy, make sure are they conscious, are they not? And then it's okay, well, we need to take them either to the office or to another area away from the public eye to kind of see, well, what's going on, just to make sure their safety is. And if it is to the point of, this is getting a little bit out of hand, we don't know, are they really bad? Then we do call an ambulance. Yeah, unfortunately. It's very rare.
It must be hard, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to, because obviously they look at you, not in a negative way, but what's going on, RSA and all that kind of stuff. But if somebody preloaded before they got to the club and, decided to have 10 drinks before they got in and they're a lightweight and then had 1 drink here, sometimes it's out of our hands. We can only manage what we can manage.
100%.
That's the only thing.
Going to more the music festival side of things, music festivals, I love them. They're good fun.
Yeah.
I haven't been to heaps, but the ones I've gone to, you get in a car, you're gone for the weekend, you pack your car and you're with your mates. What goes into not only like putting a festival on, because I can imagine it just being just one of the most complex, like when you think about it logistically over, a day or even multiple day events. But I'd love to know even the talent aspect. Like, how does it go about booking talent and making sure they're looked after and just the logistics of everything? I don't know if that's a specific enough question, but it's there's so much to it. Yeah,
music festivals I love it, but there's a lot that goes kind of on with it. I mean, you're starting off with going, well, the perfect date. What's a fine date? In between. And then it's like, well, you might go after an artist and he's not available on that date. So you try and find another date, or that venue that you wanted originally isn't the right venue. So, I mean, there's so much kind of back work that kind of goes on. So we kind of just get the pyramid out and go, all right, date, venue, do those line up? And then who's our hit list on artists? And then it comes to a negotiation. I mean, there's probably about 10 to 15 players in Australia that are constantly going after similar talent to what you are. So, who you want to go for, you write that email to the agent, this is what is the artist available? And they write back, send the offer. Like, right, okay, cool. Really? Well, this is what we can afford to pay. And they're like, no thanks. Or they write back and fill in an offer sheet, and you're spending all this time and all that kind of stuff. And then, there's been months and months where I've spent so much time on an artist and I think, oh my God, we've got it, guys. And then they've come back and said, no thanks. And I'm like, we've just wasted 3 months, 4 months. Like, but that's just the nature of like artist agencies on trying to find, everybody wants those hitters to sell tickets. And, we're not talking, $1, $2 anymore. We're talking, $500,000, $1 million a show. I think the most that I've paid artists for our festival is like $1 million US per show.
Wow.
And obviously the dollar being at like, 63 cents, it's, you're talking like nearly 1.4 Australian. And then it's transfers, visas, logistics.
Private jets.
Yeah.
I don't know. That would cost a lot.
Yeah, they're riders. And it's like add. And if you don't know what you're doing, agents can get you caught out. So like you really got to know cool, well, this is the landed offer. This is what it is. Does it include a comm? Taxes. Does it include withholding taxes? Like who pays the government? Like there's a lot of things that go on, in doing that. And then obviously when they're here, they've got an entourage of 20 people. Yeah, so they're like, cool, I've got to look after 20 people. I've got to get vans, cars, and you're sorting out logistics for like, okay, guys, lobby calls, this, that, or somebody's missed their flight, or the artist wants to take their time, or they found a girl. And it's just like, like there's a whole thing of like when the shows are actually going on to like, okay, well, all the pre-work on venue, production, bump in, bump out. I mean, if you look at us for Ultra this year, we had the most beautiful week leading up to it. The day before was amazing. The day of, rained like 30 mils of rain. The day after, no rain.
Of course.
And I'm like, like, you serious? Like,
the festival gods.
Yeah. And then obviously, people, and like, I'm so emotional on that kind of stuff because like I look online, read comments, this, that, and, I'm so invested in it.
Sure. Like
people are like, oh, the rain, this. I'm like, well, what do you want us to do about it? Like, I don't get it. Like every artist came, the production was on point. Like everything worked to a T. Like
you just got wet.
Do you think I wanted to rain 20, 30 mils? Like, I was the one that was like knee deep in, water and soaking and freezing cold. And, it takes out like 6-7 months of the year of working on a show to have one bad day of rain. Like, and it rained like 7 days in April this year. And it just happened to be that day it rained the most. So, obviously like you can never pick the perfect day. It's either going to be like too hot, too cold. I mean, sometimes you get really lucky and stuff like that. But I mean, we've done shows in summer that it's rained and it's like February.
Yeah.
True. And it's just like, it happens. But I guess it just comes down to like, delivering the show. If somebody wants to see an artist, you do everything in your powers to make sure the artist gets here. There's been times where one or two, I think we're only been unlucky like a couple of times where an artist can't come through to a family emergency or something's might have happened or whatever it is. But I think, you deliver on what you promise to come out.
For sure.
I was just going to ask about that scenario. If an artist pulls out for whatever reason, what's the agreement then? Because if you've sold tickets on the base that so-and-so is going to play and then suddenly they don't, I'm not like whether they're a headliner or not.
Yeah.
Is there like a clause between the contract between you and that agency you're working with if in the event that they actually pull out and ticket sales are affected or people want their money back? How does that work?
Yeah, there's a lot of,
that sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah. Contracts are always going to be in favor of like obviously artists.
Sure.
But there's these guys that we kind of work with and obviously the bigger talent. I mean, if they were to pull out, they kind of know it's on them, if they're sick or whatever it is. But I guess with a music festival, it's a little bit different because you might have 13 artists, 14, whatever it is, as an example. And if someone pulls out, the show still kind of goes on.
Sure.
But I guess if Taylor Swift comes out and Taylor Swift cancels, a lot different than the show can't go on. You know, it's
Yeah.
not like we're getting a Taylor Swift impersonator. You know, like you can still do the show and make it kind of happen.
You can't just call in Kiss like the AFL did.
Yeah. So I guess they're the kind of little different things that like, but at the end of the day, if you've solely banked, you know, even on a music festival and you've got that one or two big heavy hitters and one person sells out, I mean, you still, to a degree, got to try and do the right thing because people will still get pissed off and go, well, fuck, you know, I only wanted to come and see that person, or can I get my money back? I don't know. It just, you got to try and find that mutual ground because you're always like, all right, well, we're doing this for the long term, not the short term. If we want to come in for a cash grab, don't worry about it. It is what it is. But because we want to come back another 5-10 years, you know, if somebody's that disheartened because they're not seeing that particular artist and that's all they wanted to come and see, take every case on its merits, I guess.
And I'm sure a lot of people have watched this, and I know you would have hands down, but the documentary Fire Festival, right?
Yeah.
Like you think of, when I think of a music festival, and we also interviewed someone, would have been a couple of years now, Brian Toreno from Mushroom Group.
Yeah.
And he looks after all the merchandise, Love Police, the merchandise aspect of the Mushroom Group. And we talked about, you know, certain festivals and whatnot. But when you watch the movie, or the Doco Fire Festival, and I forget his last name, but Billy, that guy.
Yeah.
I think anyone and everyone thinks, just based on if you're an influencer or have some type of power with a following, that these things are easy to put together. Right?
Yeah.
But the lack of, in that instance, the lack of respect and... Have you seen it, by the way?
No.
Well, basically, I won't tell you about it, but what I'm getting to with this is, what is the hardest part about putting something like this on? Like, because in that scenario, like he just didn't put any of the what would you call them, ticket holders. Not one of them was front of his mind. It wasn't about them at all.
No.
It was all about money making and getting the biggest names, biggest acts, and then all the big names. I think you had Blink-182 and all these big names, and they all pulled out like last minute.
Yeah, I mean, he had the perfect scenario. He just had to execute the event, and he would have been, you know, running goals and not do jail time. You know,
He went to jail.
Fuck.
yeah, like I mean, he sold out a festival without doing anything. You know, before obviously he got all the key influencers, Kendall Jenner's and whatever it was, and they were posting about it, and you know, he blew up this festival bigger than what it is. He just had to execute the thing. You know what I mean? But I guess from our side of things, we always look at it and go, all right, well, who's the next big? I mean, we're talking like 6 to 8 months on particular acts that we kind of look at. So we're also trying to find who's going to be the next artist to grab now that's going to be hot in 8 months' time. You know,
See,
if I
that's
booked,
hard.
That's tough.
you know, like it's obviously there's always going to be the heavy hitters. But if I was to book Fred again 6 months before he blew up, I'd be jumping up and down and doing a Taylor Swift concert. You know,
Yeah.
like,
You're betting, like you're almost gambling.
you're gambling. Like you think that you kind of create a perfect lineup, but sometimes it doesn't hit. And I guess that revolves me going back to the clubs, being out every week because music's changed. You know, EDM is still in there and all that kind of stuff, but techno's made a huge wave through. House music's back. And it's like, okay, well, there's a new wave of kids coming through. There's a new wave of entertainment. There's a new music genre coming through. And I guess like if you need to kind of find, I mean, look at Hardstyle. I mean, it just did 60,000 tickets on the weekend. One music genre. It's the biggest music show in one music genre. I mean, I'd love to do 60,000 tickets. It's like 3 ultras in one day. I'm like, that's nuts. Like, you know, Pete from HSU is a good friend, and it's just credit to him on what he's kind of strived for delivering in that music genre that nobody kind of wanted to touch. But now 60,000 tickets,
That's insane.
I mean, we spent 8 months work doing 4 stages, different music genres, this and this. And we, obviously 20,000 tickets is a huge number, but like there's so much time and effort. Like I'm like this refreshing the ticket page every couple of minutes. Just shit, we sold 4 tickets, we sold 3 tickets, we sold 5 tickets, wake up in the middle of the night, people bought tickets. Like you're literally like on the tip of like your tongue of like, okay, well, where's that break even point? And as a promoter, it is so stressful. Like, surprised I still got a little bit of hair, but it's just like you're so stressed because obviously you're not just got one show going on, you got multiple shows and, you're doing shows and other bits and pieces, but you're constantly going, well, where's our break even point? And like, obviously if it doesn't hit that, well, how do you mitigate that? Because the show still has to go on. So work with suppliers, do you change a little production? Artist bills is always going to be where your artist talent is going to be unless someone pulls out. But it's like, okay, well, how do we strategize on making this, deliver this show and not go bankrupt?
Can't even imagine what you're juggling all the time. I hate bringing this up because I hate talking about COVID, but
yeah,
I'm interested to hear what you went through because you probably were hit just about the hardest. I mean, we've heard a lot of people that have been hit hard by COVID. Obviously, it affected everybody, but especially you here in Melbourne, that period must have I would love to know how you even thought you were going to get through that period, because
Yeah.
it was so uncertain on when things would open, especially hospitality.
Well, Ultra was the actual last festival in the world. Like,
Oh, really?
we just finished Ultra and COVID was like full lockdown. I think because the Grand Prix closed, the Grand Prix was a week after us. And
Yeah,
then the
okay.
Grand Prix
Yeah.
closed on the Wednesday. We just finished Ultra on Saturday.
Actually, yeah, I remember now. Yeah, because
So
there
I
was
think
a
if
lot of
everybody,
stuff in it. Yeah.
I wish if everybody knew that this would be the last festival.
Everyone would have been there,
Yeah,
mate.
like
I
our
would have bought a
sales,
ticket.
our sales were like that
Yeah.
last, just to go out. But
The
it was-
last hurrah.
yeah, it was like literally like our sales were dibbling down. Like we lost a huge sponsor from China. We lost huge bottle service, our table clients that we had huge teams coming from overseas, obviously getting in. Can we get into the country? Agents were calling us up going, are we allowed in? If we are allowed in, are our artists going to be allowed out? And we're like, we don't know what the hell's going on. Like,
Yeah.
but got through that. But yeah, COVID was like very, very difficult. Like for anyone to say that they got through it easily, like, look, the grants helped in a big way to keep staff, employed staff going through, because finding staff right now is probably the hardest thing, right now in hospitality, finding good staff that are committed and want to work the hours and all that kind of stuff. But mentally, I think after the second or third lockdown for me personally was like tough.
Yeah, I bet.
Like, I'm like, all right, well, what are you doing at home? Like, there's no point planning. There's no point this. Because I still felt like, in the first instance, like, all right, we're back, we're not back. Are we going to reopen? Then there was seating. There was no seating.
Which was shit. It sucked going out and being seated at a table when you can't. Like, I remember going out one night it was like a bar.
Yeah.
Like, that used to be like a dance floor, and you stood up and someone came over, no, you can't stand up. Like, unless
Can't
you
do
go in the
this. You
toilet.
can't, like, it's not hospitality. It wasn't any experience. But I guess then there was certain times of like, there was bills that still needed to be paid.
Yeah.
And what we try to explain to everybody was the train has stopped. Like the train of income, like everybody, like it's not just us, like everybody, but obviously, certain suppliers, we're like, well, we need cash and this and that. And we're like, well, then it just started like everyone had to fork in their own kind of personal money just to kind of ride the wave and just get through it. But then we just try to find new measures of how do we open, and like when we could open, is it smaller? Is it? But the rules were just, non-existent. You can do this indoors, you can do this outdoors, roof open, roof not. Like it was just insane. But I guess for me personally, it was very daunting. Like, there was days where I was just like, well, what's the point of waking up at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock?
Yeah.
What's the point? I mean, we're not doing anything. No one's doing anything. No one's replying back to an email. And it just became like a habit of like, well, I'll go to sleep late. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
It just became, who cares? And then like there was a lot of times where I was like, okay, well, what's the next thing for Trav? Because if this just goes on for another year, all these venues are going to close. Everyone's just like going to go, this is too hard. Like we're out, I'm out. Like it's just. So yeah, but it was just mentally, it was probably the worst I've ever been in my life. Of like, well, where am I going? And like, obviously my partner, she works at Commonwealth Bank. They could work from home, and it was different story and whatever it might be. But I guess for us, and being a person that was always out to being stuck in, that was very difficult. Like, how many times can you walk to Coles? How many times can you walk around the block? How many times can you do this or whatever it might be? So yeah, it was very, very difficult. And I guess, if we ever went back, which I don't think we ever will go, but yeah, I mean, a lot of people, it was just more so like even just checking on your mates. That's what it came down to in the end. Like we were just doing Zooms just to check in on staff and people and let them know we're still doing this, even though we didn't really have much going on, but just trying to keep staff going, hey, this is what we think at the light at the end of the tunnel, or what's going on, and always try and be ready for like when we did get a green light to like go.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, I think the team had extreme difficulty. Yeah.
What's this might be a really, really what's the most popular drink when you're like at a pub or at a bar and it's just there's got to be something that just constantly you're buying it all the time. Like,
Have a guess first.
you'd have to say vodka.
Yeah.
I'd say
vodka.
Vodka
Yeah.
raspberry, surely.
Yeah, I mean, vodka.
Vodka cranberry.
Vodka is our biggest seller. Obviously, like Fireball.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
everyone loves a good Fireball. I mean, different venues have different kind of, kind of things. I mean, I know when I was at Billboard, I know Fireball was huge, but at Electric, it's tequila shots. So I guess it's like a little bit different. Then, everyone used to be like wet pussies and all that kind of stuff. Like, but I mean, vodka, it's just, you go through that, like, it's just
Like water.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, but except for the hardstyle shows, they drink a lot of water.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
But it's just like vodka. But like, I mean, different bars. Like Electric's a cocktail bar as well. So like, people come in early, they want their espresso martinis or the porn star kind of stuff and kind of have a little bit more elegant kind of thing. We do that at Emerson on the rooftop as well. So yeah, I think different venues have different things, but I mean, I'm a vodka lime soda kind of guy.
Me too.
Me too. Makes three of us. As we sort of come towards the end of this podcast, I'd love to know, and I know it's always a difficult question, but like, is there one experience, one memory that comes to mind in terms of like the craziest thing that you might have experienced in any of these venues that you own? Like in terms, it could be who's come in or some, like, I don't know, a fight that's broken out or just just anything that happens in a nightclub.
Yeah, I think Drake was the biggest.
Yep.
Because obviously, I mean, he's still at his top of his game and all that. But I think when he came through, like, it was kind of like maybe I don't know if it was his first time or second time he's been to Australia. But I mean, just that was like, if you look at the photos and the recap of that, I've never seen a room just so tight and just everybody going crazy, especially when he jumped up on, Marky had really low roofs. So, for someone to jump on stage, they're kind of always kind of bending down. But like, it just was nuts. And his security guards were like arms bigger than like you could ever think of. But it was just a party. It was just electric. But, when we've done like, the Stereosonic, when we've done all those Nova Red Rooms back in the day, I've always been a fan of like Axwell and Ingrosso, having them play at the venue and all that kind of stuff. I was like, a bit of fangirl with Axwell. I guess they're the kind of memories that I look back going, they were the best nights, with your group of friends, music's on point, everything kind of flows well. And then same as Ultra, Ultra's like when it all goes well, when there's not 20, 30 mils of rain and everyone's having fun and you see, cool, you take that step back. Even when it's a club show, I kind of like take a little moment in every show that I do. And I've got a facet. Every major event that I do, I buy a new pair of shoes. It's like, I don't know why. I just started that.
Nice habit to have.
Yeah, that's good. It's a bit of a superstition.
Yeah, because I do so many steps anyway. I just need that new kind of runner. So like I've got all these shoes at home, but for some reason I've got a superstition. So like every major event, buy like a new pair of shoes. But
I like it.
Yeah, every event I kind of like put the headpiece down and kind of just go, all right, sit back and just take it in. Yep. You just got to look at what you've kind of delivered. And I think people don't really understand of like the pressure and what really goes on and the stress on day, the stress before. And it's only like that last hour where you're like having a drink and just after you like put all this together and go, fuck, look what we did. You took back, DJs are here, pyro's going off, everybody's having the time of your life. And, that's my drug. That's seeing everyone enjoy themselves and have fun is like my go-to of like, okay, this is why I wake up and every day and go, I want to deliver the best experience if I can.
Being you're the go-to man, I'm sure you've learnt the skill of seeing through people.
Yeah.
Like maybe touch on a little bit on, and if you're open to it, like I'm sure all of a sudden, when you're the guy with the list and you're the guy with a little black book and the names, you've got the contacts. Like, do you sense people change the way they act around you when things started going really well? Yeah,
I mean, if a show's sold out or whatever it is, I get the biggest anxiety because my phone does not stop. And you can't help everybody. I mean, when tickets go on sale, it's been on sale for 6 months and I missed out on buying a ticket. I was going to buy a ticket today. And I'm like, been on sale for 6 months. Like, or, your friends or people messaging or close contacts. And it's just, people that want to buy a ticket and support you will buy a ticket, whether it's $20 or $100, you've got that core people. There's been nights where, we've comped people entry, this, that, drinks, whatever it is. But when it's our big shows, we always try and go, hey, help us. You know what I mean? Like we put a show on or it's a small capacity. Sorry, man. Like we can't help you tonight. Buy a ticket. Like don't get upset.
That. Yeah.
Like don't get upset. We're not doing anything wrong. We're just going, well, we've only got 400 tickets to sell. It's a break even of 380 tickets. Like we need every single space to sell tickets. But especially when a show is sold out, like your phone just does not stop. And it's just like, sometimes it comes to the point where I just ignore it. Like I'd be rude. You don't want to be rude, but I just can't do anything. And it just, it comes to the point of like, too much.
Do you have an exit strategy or like how long do you see yourself? Because I can't imagine, like you mentioned, bouncing around from club to club to club every Friday, Saturday night. Like, do you see an age where you're like, I'm not sure I'll be able to keep doing this? And if so, what do you foresee? Do you want to just be an owner from a distance? Or how do you kind of see, like looking 10, 15, 20 years, 25 years from now, like how do you...
Good question. I don't know, to be honest. I mean, I'm very hands-on, so it's hard to kind of go...
I reckon it would be tough for you,
Yeah, it's kind of hard to give someone 100% control and go, all right, you guys run it. I'll just look at the bank account, or, look at the reporting at the end of the night, and that's it. Like, there's certain things that need certain touch, You know, like whether someone owns a clothing brand or someone who owns something, like they've always got their own touch, which has made it successful. And I look at the Tao group over in the US, who are like, you know, Noah, who's he's one of my big mentors, and I watch what they do. And they're out 7 days a week at their restaurants. They're always going to their launches because people know them for their brand.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? So it's just like, well, if we start a new venue and you're not there and someone comes to you, you can't be out every night of the week or every weekend, you know, but there's also been tons of weddings, birthdays that I've missed out on because it's important to me for being there.
Yeah.
If I've got an artist or an international, I want to make sure that I'm there 100% because if shit goes wrong, I can either fix it or deal with it that way, one way or another, and smooth talk out of it or whatever it might be. Or, you know, there won't be certain clients that come through that buy a table. They're like, Trav, if you're not there, I'm not coming. So I'm like, fuck. Like, there's been nights where I've been in bed. I'm like, babe, this person's coming to the club. Like, she's like, what are you doing? It's 12 o'clock at night. I'm like, I know, but look, he's got to buy a table. Like,
wow.
And I'm like, shit. Oh my God. But there's only a couple for that.
There's
only a certain people
the big ones.
Or there's someone in town or an artist that want to go out. Like, I remember like younger when I was like having dinner with my mates and like Tiesto's crew called me. They're like, we want to go out. It's like on a Thursday night. There was a couple of venues open. Can you take us out? I'm like, literally trackies, hoodie. I'm like, don't worry, I got it. Let's go. Set it all up, venues. But I was just like, that was like a 10 o'clock phone call. And by the time they got to the club at 11, everything was set up, ready to go. And
wow.
I mean, my tracky's having a photo with him. And it's just like, you know, probably not the best look. But I was like, shit just goes on. You just got to be ready, you know. And I think that's why with the team that we've got, if something to come through, like I'm always 100% confident, no matter what time, no matter what it is, we can make it happen.
Can you maybe just lastly touch on like the power of attention to detail? Like, so clearly a big aspect of you having the reputation you do is the care, but also the attention to detail and the consistency of it. But within your own network, like not only the importance of having the right contacts and building them over a long period of time, but like, is the attention to detail why you've been so successful, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as an example, today I showed someone through the venue, but I came like an hour early and the venue was clean. Then I'm like, rang the guys up. I'm like, did we have the cleaners in? They're like, yeah. I'm like, it's not clean. Like, somebody's walking through for a potential client, it needs to be 110%. Like, there's still bits and pieces. The venue wasn't set right. Like, we're trying to sell a venue for another client, but this isn't the way we should have left it as well. So, like, all those little things, like, you know, whether there's food on the floor or drinks or whatever it is, or glasses not packed up right. Or, I mean, you see me sometimes going around, I'm picking up glasses as well, you know, just from the floor. I mean, somebody falls on that, or if the bussy can't get around because the venue's tight or whatever it might be. I mean, they can't be at all places at once. Like, it's just... it makes me no different than the bussy picking up that glass and putting it behind the bar. Like, we treat everyone 100% equal. We're all on the same team. If I can help them out, they're doing an amazing job. But it just goes to those little detail, because if that glass breaks, it's going to make his life more difficult. It could hurt some, you know what I mean? It has a flow-on effect. So I don't see myself as like this higher person. I'm like, oh my God, like Trav, whatever. It's all hands on deck. If I had to go upstairs and clean the toilets, and I'll do whatever I need to do to make shit get done. Like, I don't care about that. I just want everyone to have fun and enjoy the night and come back next week.
We asked Zed when he was on the show, does he think that his staff would be intimidated by him, or what kind of boss is he? How do you feel about that yourself? Like, for people that work with you or for you, do you think they're intimidated by you? Are you a tough boss? Like,
nah, I mean, like, I'm very easygoing. I mean, we've all got, someone's got issues, someone's got problems, especially in the world that we live in now. As long as like we get the job done, do you know what I mean? That's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I've always said anybody that kind of works or wants to work or get in this industry, this is not 9 to 5.
No.
If I message you at 11 o'clock at night because of something's come to my brain or something for tomorrow, like, you know, sometimes like we just need that response, especially leading into a festival and a show. That's something so big, like, you know, it's agents are messaging. Like, I always see myself doing a double shift because obviously nighttime to daytime overseas and stuff like that. So our 9 o'clock at night is 8 o'clock in the morning. So they're emailing us. They want to know what's going on, especially leading into a show. Or flight's done, visa's done, or where's this at, or we need to change accommodation. You can't go, oh, I'll reply at 9 o'clock in the morning. Like, it doesn't work. So like, as long as you've got that mentality of, hey, like, you know, when things get tough, we're all in this together. Like, we can have a break later on. We can high five when the show's over. But if I'm messaging you at 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock, or you're messaging me and you need an answer because you're doing your job and you can't do your job without me, I'll reply back.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like, but during the day and stuff like that, like, we all have fun. We all, like, you know, do what we need to do. But as long as the job gets done, that's all I want to do. Like, I want everyone to enjoy themselves. I mean, we're in hospitality. I want to enjoy what you do because it'll make you better at what you're doing as well. So, sometimes, you might not do the right thing, but we just learn.
Yeah.
Like I learned, we just learn on how we grow. And if you're not sure on something, just ask questions. I always say, like, just ask if you're not sure.
Yeah.
I don't yell. Like, I'm not a yeller.
Yeah.
I've been yelled at, but I'm definitely not a yeller.
Well, Trav, mate, this has been unreal. I've loved it.
Yeah. I think we have to go out.
Yeah.
I'm
I
keen.
think we need a few drinks after.
You need to drag him out. He's a tough man to get out, I feel. But,
Oh, do you reckon? Well, I did.
I reckon we need like a little live stream on like a Saturday night
That would
with
be
you
cool.
guys.
Can we
Just
do that?
filming it. I reckon
Yeah.
we need, I reckon let's start off from dinner, go to Rossi, then let's go to Electric, let's go to Emerson,
Let's do it.
and then let's end up at Circus at 5 a.m. till the next day.
Just with me, I'm a lightweight, so I just got to pace myself.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
it's
it's not
all
going to be great viewing for the audience. But one thing I just want to acknowledge you for before we finish too, and this thought popped into my head early in the podcast, but I think it's really encouraging for people that are listening in terms of chasing their passion, because who would have thought that going out clubbing at 18 years old and just being a promoter would get you in the position you are today. Like, you followed something that you openly admitted you're passionate about, you enjoy doing, and now you've turned it into not only a career but a really successful one where you're actually making waves in the industry. So I just want to commend you on that, and I think it's a great motivator for people, no matter what their interest is. Like, it shows if you're passionate about something, like, no matter what field, you can make it work. Because I bet you if you're at school and you say I want to be a club promoter, like, that is a unusual thing, I'm guessing, for people to hear. So I just want to commend you on that.
No,
it's amazing what
I
you've
mean,
done.
like with everything in life, like if you stick to it, eventually you will get there.
Yeah.
There's roadblocks in every way of life you look at. There's ups, there's downs, there's I want to throw this away. And I've had that a million times, especially during COVID. Like, even when I was starting out, like, this isn't for me, or how am I going to do this? Or I can't do this for, 20 years or whatever it might be. But like, I think if you give it 110% and if you want it and you just dedicate your life to kind of making something happen, eventually the doors will open, and then you will get one little break and then a little break here. I mean, I tell DJs all the time, it takes one track.
Yeah.
Your producers, like, oh, it's so hard to make it. Like, look at someone like a Will Sparks. Like, that guy's worked his ass off. Timmy Trumpet, those are, people that look out at these guys, the Australian dudes and, Fishers and all these guys and Flumes, like, those guys, if you actually see what goes on behind the scenes, those guys are workaholics. They're producing stuff. They're working on their brand and concept. But if you just consistently just work, it just takes that one track for it to go viral. And then nowadays with TikTok, social media, it's a little bit easier to make something catch on than it is when it was 10 years ago. So if you can have that flow-on effect, and then when it does, just wanting to you just hit the ground running. But then I also say as well, you got to invest in yourself.
Sure.
Like your time, your energy into yourself and what it might be. Nothing's more important than yourself.
Yep.
Like there's sometimes, for me, that outbreak is like, for me, it's like, I've got to get back to the gym. I've got to have that, like, okay, bit of physical, bit of activity, whatever it might be, or spending time with my family. Just cool. Just come back down to the earth and just be grounded and go, all right, cool. Go see mum and dad and get the wog dinner and go, talk about your dramas and your troubles or whatever it is. And I look at them and I'm like, cool. Well, when I'm their age, I don't want to be where they're at. You know what I mean? I want to make something for one day for my family of like, be comfortable. Like, use certain motivational areas, or is it just your competition? Fuck, how did that guy sell 10,000 tickets? Or how did that person do that? How do we get better? I don't worry about what other people do. I've always got the blinkers on of like, let's just focus on us.
Yep.
Because as soon as you worry about what everyone else is doing, you're just going to go, well, fuck, attention. They're not thinking about you.
Yeah, no.
They're just, fuck, let's just get our own thing. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's just do our own thing and
That's
catch us on. Not everything is going to work in life. So, yeah, persistence is key.
Love it.
Mate, unreal. Looking forward to to the vodka.
Well, thank you so much. I
Thanks,
appreciate
guys.
it.
Cheers.